Good morning, everybody, and happy Tuesday. It's another beautiful, sunny summer day. Happy August 1st. So, we talked yesterday about meeting people where they are. This thing better work today. I'm using Bolt. I'm using my dog as an example of all of this because, given what he's gone through, it's interesting. He's a completely different dog than he was when we first met him. We met him 6 weeks ago, not for a long period of time, but he was, a typical 1 year old puppy. He was playful, he was relaxed, and now he's not. After being on his own for a month, he's very, very, very skittish and very uneasy and I'm sure that's all going to go away. But you wouldn't even think about what he was before. And I use that to talk about we have to meet people where they are. Everybody is going through something. Always. Everybody is always going through something. You have to presume that. And you never know what their experiences are. You can't tell by looking at them. You can't tell by looking at them if they've ever had sexual trauma. You can't tell if they've ever been physically abused. You can't tell if they just recently had a loved one diagnosed with cancer. You can't tell if all of a sudden they lost somebody in a car wreck or somebody has been diagnosed with a different kind of illness, or they're going through financial crisis. You never know just by looking at somebody what is happening. And as I said yesterday, any type of response that you get is either a sign of love or a cry for help. So a sign of love example is a loved one gets upset when you say that you're going to go do something, and it's not because they're mad at you, it's because they're worried. They're worried that you're going to make a mistake, or they're worried somehow you're going to be injured, or your life is going to be tougher. A lot of that can come from a parent. Another type of response is if you're doing something that's unhealthy and the person that cares about you gets upset about it, you can say, man, this person is really on my ass. Well, that may be true, but it may be because they really truly care about you and they worry about that you might not be, the healthiest that you could be and what the long-term impact of that is. The other thing, those are signs of love. The other thing is a cry for help. When somebody lashes out for no reason. You've been in that situation where, you're in a car and you accidentally pull out in front of somebody and they react very significantly. As opposed to the horn, hey, look at what you're doing. All of a sudden the reaction is incredibly over aggressive. Well, is that really probably directed at you? Probably not. That what they probably are is really mad at somebody else, and now it's being taken out on you because you hit them at the wrong time. If they just got done having a very heated conversation with somebody and they cannot express themselves the way that they would like to just because they can't because of who they're talking to, and then all of a sudden something jolting happens with you, you're going to get the brunt of that, right? You're going to get the brunt of that lashing out that has nothing to do with you and everything to do with this other situation in their life. I told you the example about the guy that I saw coaching his kid in girls softball who went bananas after a call. And then a couple of months later, I saw him in court and he was getting divorced. Well, now we know why he went bananas after the call. It had nothing to do with the game and everything to do with what was going on at home. So I love The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's one of my favorite books of all time. And in there, he talks about seeking to understand more than being understood. 2 ears, 1 mouth, good lesson for me. Seek to understand the person that you're dealing with a lot more than for them to understand you. And when you have those situations where somebody responds in a way that doesn't make sense, instead of lashing out back, your question can be, that doesn't make sense. And so now it can be seeking to understand. Now, sometimes that might not be appropriate for you to actually approach that person, but maybe it is. If you're in a social setting, let's say you're in a restaurant and the person who's supposed to wait on the table responds in a very aggressive manner. I mean, it's not out of line to look at that person and say, hey, clearly you're having a rough day. I can tell that they're making huge demands on you here, and I'm sure that they need more help and they don't have it. And so they're asking you to do more than they should ask you to do. I'm sorry that you're in that situation. And, when you can get to us, that's great, but we're in no hurry and everything's fine. What's going to happen after that conversation with that person? Not only are they going to feel better, but you're going to be the first one that's going to get waited on because you were actually nice to them. Disney has this, I love Disney. Disney has this great thing. The number of people that lock their keys in their car in Disney World is staggering. The dads pull up, the kids are all over the place, everybody's excited, they're getting all the stuff out of the car, and this is before they had, we all had fobs, and we all had cars that didn't let us do this, and we all had apps. This is back when you could really lock your keys in your car, and it was a big problem. It happened all the time. I mean, it happened like 10 times an hour somebody would lock their keys in their car. So Disney had a team that did nothing but get people's keys out of their car. And most of the people on that team were not allowed anywhere else on the park other than the house that they sat in these parking lots waiting for this to happen, because let's be honest, most of the people on this team had done things that were not good with this knowledge of how to break into cars. But they could actually get into the car faster than you could with your key. And Disney kept them on site, ready to go. And as soon as a key got locked in a car, there were places all around where you could hit a button and a blue light would go off. And these people would show up immediately and they would get your keys out of your car, because if your keys are locked in your car, somebody's not having a magical day. And when you're not having a magical day, you're not spending money. But here's the cool thing that they did. Walt always talked about, how do we plus it? How do we take this negative portion of their day and turn it into something positive, or at least make it neutral, so that they'll go have their magical day? And here's what they did. The people would come and get the keys out of the car, open up the car, free of charge, you don't know anything. And then they had a train come up that would give you a ride because you had lost time, so you didn't have to walk to the monorail or whatever. They would give you a ride to the Magical Kingdom. And then when the guy handed the keys back to the dad, he would look at him and he would say, "I'm sorry that this happened." And what happened when he did that? He took ownership of the situation. It now was not the dad's fault. It was his fault. "I'm sorry this ever happened." And the dad would take the keys and go, "That's okay." And now he would go off and he would have his magical day. They sought to understand. They didn't just solve the problem, "Here's your keys back," but they did it in a way so that they also took the onus off of you for making that particular situation happen. Brilliant. And can we not do that for the people that are around us? Of course we can. And shouldn't we? Why not? When you run into somebody that's not having a magical day, if there's a way that you can change that for them, why not do it? If you're at Starbucks and somebody's overly stressed and you can say, "Hey, it's okay. You know, I got time. I'm in no hurry. Everything's fine. Take your time." Same thing at a restaurant. I mean, how many people are understaffed now? Everybody. So if you're at a restaurant and somebody's stressed and they don't respond to you in the greatest of fashions, there's an easy way to change that. If you're on the phone with customer service and they don't respond to you in the best way, there's always a way to change that. Make them laugh. Make them smile. Change somebody's day. You know what? Tomorrow I will tell the story of how I made it to my first Tony Robbins event using this exact same principle. And this is a great talk for me too, to remind myself of that moment, because we all got to be reminded to do these things. So seek to understand. Meet people where they are and seek to understand. Instead of lashing back, why is this person coming at me in this not so resourceful state? What is going on in their life that's causing them to do that? And is there a way that I can help? Is there a way that I can make their day any better? Thank you so much for watching, everybody. It's great to see you. Valerie, good morning. Janet, so nice to see you. Diana, way out in the middle in the South Pacific. Brandon, great to see you, brother, my new neighbor. And Mr. Connors, awesome. Thank you so much for hopping on, everybody. I'm so honored when people take the time to watch. We're all in this together. Let's take care of each other. Have a great day.